Think about it. Think about it. Think about it.
Good afternoon and welcome. Today is Monday, August 11th, 2025. We are here in the Commissioners' Conference Room for the Board of County Commissioners of Larimer County for our work session with our Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources Department. And I am Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shai McNally, Chair Pro Tem, chairing the meeting today. Commissioner Stevens is not here today, but I'm joined by my colleague, Commissioner John Kafalis, who is here, and we're also here with our Assistant County Manager, Lori Cadridge. We have lots of folks in the room, but I am going to, instead of introducing them all, I'm going to just turn this over to our Director of what we call Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources, our CPERS, Director Leslie Ellis. Leslie, I'll let you take it away.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon. We have several items on the agenda today, and they're all relatively short, so we just figured we'd invite everyone up here, and then we could have less transition time. So for the first item, our technical assistance request to Trust for Public Land, Dalen's going to present that item here briefly, and then we'll move on to Amy White on the future funding for court-ordered co-compliance cases, rubbish removal activities, and then Rebecca Everett's here for community development updates, and then I have brief updates myself at the end. So we'll go ahead and pass it along to Dalen. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Dalen Figgs, and Director for Larimer County's Department of Natural Resources, and today's topic is really an update on a conversation we started a few months ago. And I want to let you know we're bringing forward on consent agenda at tomorrow's admin matter a request for technical assistance for the Trust for Public Land and the Nature Conservancy to help us explore funding options for Larimer County to consider. And if we recall from past conversations, the funding is related to either or to both open space and recreation access in sort of operational work within our open space program. And then the second piece of that is related to forest health and watershed health and forestry work that's needed in Larimer County. The technical assistance doesn't get us to a ballot measure, but basically the intent of it is to work with TPL and TNC to conduct a feasibility research, public opinion surveys, develop strategies and recommendations on public funding measures for us to consider in the future years. This will be a very iterative process. It'll take a while to do, and so you'll likely see me, if we sign the letter of intent, back from time to time in the appropriate format to discuss options moving forward, polling questions, things of that nature, so we can move through this together. And so I just wanted to bring that matter to your attention. Other folks at the county that are involved are emergency operations and the solid waste program both have some forest health, watershed health components of their work. So they're brought into the conversation as well. So happy to answer any questions on that.
I don't have any questions. Commissioner Kafalis, any questions? Great, thank you. I appreciate it. Very excited to see this progressing. Thank you.
Likewise.
Thank you, Dalen.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Amy White, Code Compliance Supervisor. We're here to give you a little bit of history and request some additional funding for our property cleanups. As a result of the 2023 assessment that we did, we have been utilizing the court system much more, and we've also been able to kind of beef up our rubbish ordinance enforcement. So those are the two ways that a property cleanup would start, is either by our rubbish ordinance, in which case we get an entry and seizure warrant and have 10 days to execute that, or through a court order where the parties have entered into a stipulation and admitted that they have the violations, and then if they don't meet the deadlines, then we go in and clean it up as well. I just want to remind you why the cleanups are critical. It maintains community trust. It's about the health, safety, and nuisance concerns. They eliminate hazardous and unsightly conditions, improving neighborhood safety and appearance so that the property values are maintained, and Larimer County remains a high-quality place to live, work, and play. They demonstrate the county's commitment to enforcement. They reinforce public confidence in the county's responsiveness, and several community members have expressed gratitude after we have performed a property cleanup. Sustaining these efforts is essential to prevent problem properties from further deteriorating, to maintain the positive momentum established with our recent successes. Since January 1st, 2024, we have undertaken 5 property cleanups through both court orders and the rubbish ordinance. Those cleanups have ranged from $2,000 to $43,000, depending on the amount of debris to be removed, the location of the property, and whether additional services such as vehicle towing, tire disposal, and the handling of hazardous materials are also involved. Initially, we've had a hard time tracking this back down, but initially this fund was created in the early 2000s. It's only been funded once those entire years, and it has not been replenished since it was initially established, and it just keeps carrying forward year after year. Because we have undertaken these 5 cleanups, of the 137 we started with in 2024, we have already spent $72,000 of that, leaving $64,000 for future projects. We have prepared a list of priority properties, and we've got 11 of them identified that are either currently under a court order or who have an active rubbish notice posted. We want to preserve the public health and safety, and it depends. These properties were placed on the list not just because of the dollar amount, but it's how long the violation has existed, the community impact, and the severity of the violations. The list is subject to change. Some property owners have come into compliance, some go out of compliance. So it's not a comprehensive list, but it is one that we have spent quite a bit of time coming up with. I won't go into the details of the cost recovery, but basically we utilize a lien process to recover the costs incurred. So we give proper notice. If we do the cleanup, we then allow the property owner ample time to repay the county. If they don't choose to repay, then we will file a lien on their property, and if unpaid, the lien amount appears on the property's annual property tax bill. We have to date not found any that haven't been paid, but it is a process that might take a while for those funds to come back into the coffer. But we've never found any that haven't come back. So what we have come up with, some of the options for continued funding might be similar to the court-imposed fines that are currently on the property down in Loveland. So we would recommend that you all would allocate those back to the cleanup fund, since those are actually where those dollars, it was code compliance work that actually got those dollars. There has been a little bit of discussion, not much, around possibly a building loan or loan from the building division. And then future allocations would be replenished or increased through an annual allocation or one-time infusion to ensure that these efforts can continue moving forward. So we will include those as a service proposal beginning next year. So our recommendations would be to, just approve more funding so that we can continue the good work that the guys and Hannah are doing out in the field. And we also recommend that you allocate court fines to be used for the ongoing cleanup purposes.
Commissioner Kafal, do you have any questions?
Yes, I think so, yes. First question, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you, Amy and team. First question is regarding submitting an invoice after we've contracted with someone to do the cleanup work and having the property owner pay us back. Is there an option for paying back in installment payments?
We currently have not looked into that. That's something I would need to take up with our accounting folks in the department.
It's just a thought. I mean, I don't know how often it's come up that if someone has to pay back $30,000.
Yeah, so those funds get paid first to the treasurer and then they go up to our account. So it would be a coordination between the treasurer's office and our division as well.
Just something for
Yeah.
consideration. I'm not sure if it's a good policy thought. And then the second question I have is, I think I didn't print out the document that we received in our work session packet, but there were three options, and you're recommending that we allocate or appropriate more funds from the general fund for this, as well as maybe that first one about court fines and putting that back towards this. I mean, has there been any consideration for like a hybrid model whereby we might, I think the dollar amount you were looking at for allocating was $175,000, if I remember correctly. And I'm sure you're aware that we're a little bit challenged these days with budgets. And so I wonder if you've considered perhaps a hybrid, a cost-sharing kind of a deal.
So the fines are usually imposed by the court, so we don't really have much control over that. Yeah, and I think we had 175, and I believe in our service proposal, we took that down to 125,000.
If I can just make an addition here to the conversation. So, as Amy stated, there's somewhere around $65,000 left in this account that was created over a decade ago for these cleanups. Eventually we get repaid and that account replenishes, but we've completed so many cleanups in the past year that we've drawn down that account to the point that we're not able to complete many more cleanups. There is still money in that account right now. If we were to receive that $30,000 in court-imposed fines for the other code compliance case, that could get us through the end of 2025 and the properties that have been identified on the list for this year. So that could help address the immediate need that we see. And then if the account is then depleted, we would not have funds to continue cleanups into next year unless we were receiving repayment for the cleanups that have been conducted over the past year. So it's really a revolving fund type of account where we do recoup those costs eventually. But because of the delay in getting that cost recovery, it is helpful to have money in the account up front. And so that would be the request that we have put in a service proposal for the budget for next year, is to replenish that fund to help continue these cleanup efforts on an ongoing basis. One option that Amy pointed out that's in the memo is pulling those funds from the building division reserve account, knowing that those could be repaid. That's an account we tend to be protective of in case there are fluctuations in the economy and we need to account for staffing costs and things like that over time, but that is an option that would not impact general fund dollars.
Thanks, Rebecca.
So I want to make sure I'm clear on this. So there's quite a few, and I saw this list, I just pulled it up again, that are in process. That would be great to have those cleaned up probably before the weather turns, but there's not ample funds to finish those. So are you looking for direction today to go ahead and replenish those using this option, or are we discussing this? I'm trying to understand what, but the server proposal is for next year, so I'm trying to make sure what's the ask today, because I have a concern. If we're already in the middle of this process and weather's changing, I'd like to see those accomplished, knowing that maybe we can replenish or repay when we get that back. And then also do you need also direction today for us to say that once those court fines, that goes right back up to your account? So I thought there's a couple of different asks. I'm just trying to be clear what you're looking for today. Hope that's okay.
Yes.
Was that clear?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure because it's Monday and it's definitely a Monday for me.
Right. So if right now we've got about 64,000, and we've got the 1, 2, 3, 4 that are. One of them is actually started today. We've got another one that's about to get a court order, and then there's a big one up in Red Feather. Just those three alone would wipe us out at this point. So if we were to be able to get the 30,000 that's there, that would take us up to 90, and we could do some of these other ones that aren't so impactful.
I'll interject too. So the ask today is really about the 30,000. The rest of it is more of a heads up that a service proposal is coming your way for next year. So is that fair to say too? So I think we would like direction on the 30,000 transfer to cover the immediate needs in 2025. And then the rest of it, I think, can be sorted out through the budget process.
Thank you,
Yes,
Lori.
and I think part of that heads up for the 2026 budget too is for your awareness, if we run down the balance in these accounts, it does limit our ability to use that as an enforcement tool to help address some of these properties that don't voluntarily come into compliance. So we just want to make everyone aware that, this has been a very valuable tool that we've used over the last couple of years, but without the resources, it will slow down our ability to do these cleanups.
Lori?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I would just recommend, if I'm able to, that we don't designate funds out of fines into this, that rather, if the ask is a certain amount of money for a certain number of properties, that you give the board what that amount of money would be and that we make a general fund transfer to cover that cost, kind of like you used to, Amy, when you come in and show the case and show the pictures, and then the board would authorize the funding before we had kind of a fund set up in there. I know that when Lorinda has received these requests in the past, she's reluctant to designate certain small amounts of money everywhere rather than, because it all ends up in the general fund anyways. And it's a little bit easier just to say to the budget office, if the commissioners want to go ahead and allocate another $30,000 into that account.
So if I hear you correctly, Laura, you would like us to come property by property?
Well, if you already know what you need for these next ones, to go ahead and ask the board for that $30,000, that covers that. And it sounds like then you're good to the next budget year.
We can try to do that. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, these are just our best guesses too. And until we actually get into the property itself, we have surprises that come up. So
Right. You might need more.
a little bit more. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So Lori, if I'm understanding, you're saying instead of taking it out of the building fund
Yeah,
and
it's,
repaying that, just automatically go from general
Yes.
fund and make it simpler and cleaner.
yeah. And don't worry about when the fines get repaid or anything like that. The fines will go where they usually go. And then we'll make sure that there's a replenishment of that account so that they can continue doing work, if that's what you want to do as commissioners.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I would like to see the work continue. It is a really important enforcement tool. I know you guys work very hard, try to work with property owners before you go to this point, but in all fairness to all the other property owners around who are following the process or having to live near these, and we get to the point where we have to enforce this, we have to have the funding and the resources to follow through. And I know that a lot of the stuff, especially in the Red Feather area and stuff, really depends on the weather. And I don't want to have this kind of, delayed into inclement weather, and that's kind of, I worry about the safety for our employees. So I would support what you recommended, Lori, just to take it out of the general to go and accomplish these properties that you mentioned, and then the service proposal or the continued discussions we can look budget. Commissioner Kafals, what would you like to add to that?
Before I support anything, I would like clarification, because you all were recommending, one of your recommendations to provide direction today, I understood there were court fines in the amount of $30,000, and you want those to go to cover the rest, get us through the rest of the year. And so I'm not clear what is the difference between what our assistant county manager is, because you also mentioned if it's based on each cleanup, that it's a little bit challenging. Those are rough estimates. So I need some clarity before I can, go along with this suggestion or with your recommendation. And then the service proposal, we say next year. That would be this year for next year, 2026 budget, right?
That is correct, Commissioner. Yeah.
Yes, so if I could clarify, at least what I was thinking for the court fines is you never know when the court fines are going to come in and whether it's going to be the full $30,000 or not. And so,
Know that there are 30,000
Yes, we have already received $30,000 in court
Isn't that a
fines,
little
and
bit
so our
different?
request was to apply that $30,000 that has already been
Can't we grant that
received back to
request?
this account.
It's either way. It comes out of the general fund, and so I was just thinking it'd be easier just to do a general fund transfer. But if that's what you would like to do, that's fine too. I didn't realize the fines were already in.
That happened while you were on vacation.
It seems to me that it's more efficient to do it based on the way you're suggesting, which is if we know the money's in the bank, you just, and I guess it's in general fund, but make sure it's designated for this purpose, which would give us 90,000 or whatever the dollar amount is, that would allow us to do the cleanup operations, throughout this year.
So I think since the money's already there, so we receive the funds, we'll go ahead and say.
Commissioner, can you turn on your mic?
Thank you. It's Monday. I think if you already have the funds and they're there, yes, I think we give direction to go ahead and use those funds to get to where you have to be so you can finish this work. And then we'll look forward to the service proposal and then let us know if those funds exceed and you need more to finish that work, you'll let us know, so.
Great.
Does that cover all of it
Yes,
for you?
yes, that will get us through the end of the year, which is what we're hoping.
Are you on the same, are you thumbs up too with that?
The recommendation that you offered, yes, I am thumbs up.
Okay, great. After all that, I hope we're clear with our direction, so you've got what you needed.
Sounds good. Thank you for your consideration this afternoon.
Appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Rebecca Everett, Community Development Director. I don't have much in the way of updates for you today. You do have a 3 o'clock land use hearing this afternoon. At this time, we do not expect any of the items that are on the consent agenda, which is the entire agenda at this point. We do not expect any of those items to be requested to be pulled by any members of the public. That could always change, but as of 3 o'clock, or as of right now, we anticipate all items staying on consent. I did see Commissioner Shattuck McNally your request for the standard script that Commissioner Stevens has been using, so we will work on getting that to you before 3 o'clock.
Yeah, I don't have that. I have my old one, which I think you build off of that one, but I just want to be consistent, so.
Yeah.
I thought about it 4 a.m. on Saturday. But I thought, it's going to send that email Friday, and I didn't, so, yeah. So thank you for that. Great.
That's it for
Knock
me.
on wood.
Okay, great. I have also very brief updates too. I think we all enjoyed the county fair and rodeos last week, and we don't have final numbers to share with you yet. They're still tallying up the final outcomes from the livestock sale and all that, but we'll report back. But I did want to share a message with you that Connor shared with his team last week about on Sunday, we actually had 27,000 people come through the gates, and that's compared to a typical day of more like 20 to 21,000. So we really had incredible attendance by the community and people who participated, a record high, at least on that day. And those were people who just were having a good time there with their families, enjoying the activities, being part of it and making memories there. And a lot of that is really in thanks to our great staff team that's out there and your participation and, all the great support from our boards and commissions and volunteers and everybody who participates in that. So I think we can always celebrate the fair and rodeo and community participation. So just wanted to share that with you, and we'll, as we usually do with Connor and his team, when we have more kind of comprehensive information that we can share back, we'll bring that back to you too.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And that's really all I have for today. So,
Any questions, Commissioner?
No, just express our appreciation to Connor and his team.
will do. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks to Connor and his team and to our partners. OVG was there very active as well during the rodeo and the rodeo board. And also want to thank the law enforcement. Had a command center there, and we're partnering. And I know I kept seeing the drones, but it was very apparent that they were keeping an eye on things. But I overwhelmingly even had an email from some folks involved and I don't know who painted me this wonderful bookmark, this young lady saying she just, last year, her horse experience was way better this year than last year, and she painted me a bookmark. And I don't know if my colleagues got that, but it was just very kind. And so a lot of folks had a lot of positive things to say, and they felt very safe and a lot of fun and a lot of good vibes. And I certainly met a lot of great new faces in the barn, and thought we had some great new coverage about the livestock fair and livestock sale. And so I'll be anxious to see those numbers. And I know my young neighbor, first time selling his pigs and stuff, did very well for 7 years old. So I was very impressed and I'm happy for him. So, but I wanted to just thank you all. And Leslie, you were there doing all of that and being acting county manager. So certainly wanted to commend you for doing triple duty.
Thank you.
And just being supportive and being there and big thanks to Connor and his team. I saw Katie and Lou and Connor always, and then a lot of the fair, even our fair board, Stephanie Morris was covering the information booth late one night and stopped by and said hi to her. Just a lot of extra duties and ability, and I just want to thank you all for a job well done and all the extra effort. And it was great to see our community having such a positive and community bonding time. I want to just I think it was an outstanding year, and I wanted to just commend you all and thank everyone involved, because there are a lot of people to thank.
Thank you.
Well, with that, it's 1:57, and if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thank you all for joining us.